There's this television show called House, and I imagine that the writing staff has a research assistant who looks up medical improbabilities and diseases that are rare so that they can incorporate it in the show. And House, being the Sherlock Holmes of doctors, being able to find some sort of cure for it, whereas no other doctor can. Those are scripted scenes written off of a little bit of knowledge from the internet. Let it simmer. The chances of anyone dying from a propofol overdose are extremely rare. And on top of that, it's only supposed to be administered in a hospital setting. So we're looking at a scene when it comes to Michael Jackson's death that is as absurd as so many other scenes in his life. Him wanting to buy the bones of the Elephant Man. Him wanting to sleep in an oxygen chamber. His death is really an absurdity. Now, is it an impossibility? No. Anyone can be bought, anything can be bought when there's enough money involved. But was Michael Jackson really that type of person? I think he was more the type of person who created one more absurd scene for us to believe and not question. And I'm questioning it because it is so. How many people have major sleep disorders? Name one that has a doctor contracted in their home who is not an anesthesiologist administer propofol to them, besides Michael Jackson. Only man to have hired a cardiologist who didn't have a fibrillator or any of the regular things that a cardiologist should have in that room while he administered propofol illegally to this man. And he mixed it up with the drugs that will interact lethally or deadly. So having said that, I don't believe the guy's dead. I've had a colonoscopy before, so I've been injected with probably Diprovan, and there is no woozy. It's like, okay awake, okay asleep. You know, it's that quick. So why? You know, there has to be other ways to deal with sleep disorders. No. Needs to simmer. If it did happen, does that detract from all the good he did? No. And by the way, my name's Ann, and I'm an alcoholic. I have 19 years sober, one day at a time, and I'm not ashamed of it, and I don't wish to forget that, because if I start believing that I'm well, I risk losing everything. It is a part of me. It is a fact about me. Just like my nationality, just like my height, just like my race. Yeah, I can tan as dark as I want, but I'm not going to change the fact that I'm white. I can learn French, but it's not going to change the fact that I'm an Italian American. I can wear heels, but it's not going to change the fact that I'm 5'2". And I can stay sober one day at a time, and it's not going to change the fact that I'm an alcoholic. Now, do I have any right to call this man an addict? Absolutely not. He's the only one that could admit that for himself. And I don't know that he is. There was nothing ever in any of the interviews that I've watched that has shown me that he was that type of drug addict. But I have heard him admit that he had a problem with painkillers on one of his tours. If that absurd scene, that absurd death scene that happened at Michael Jackson's house on June 25th, and we all know all the absurd events that took place after that, I'm not even going to rehash those. But the scene itself, nobody has touched or questioned. They just assumed it's Michael Jackson, even though nobody else has ever had a cardiologist in his house administering propofol so the guy can get to sleep. The fact remains, he went to any lengths to have a drug administered to him that is supposed to only be used in a hospital setting. You can call it what you want. I'm calling it somebody who needed a drug to get to sleep. Not saying that he needed the drug to get high. That sounds like he was addicted to me. But again, I don't think he died that way.